right, welcome everybody. I'm going to break down the Fed. We're going to do over some of the economic numbers to start off today, what it all means. It was interesting yesterday. I watched the entire Fed press conference statement. Again, what you have to kind of look at when you look at their statements is what they've left out, and they left out a lot that they had in the past from various different types of pressures, war in the Ukraine, supply chain difficulties. All that came out. And my take on Jay Powell in his speech yesterday is he seemed pretty cool. I mean, what I mean by cool, confident. He was very just kind of matter of fact about things, and he laid out the various different scenarios that could happen. And one of the scenarios he said, "Hey, you know what? The data looks good. We could stop." I think at this point in time, any 6% plus, which was being floated for a while there, that's off the table. Unless God forbid something, changes drastically. I don't see that happening at all. I was also pleasantly surprised. I'm very, very hard on the Federal Reserve and these economists that know too little. I was pleasantly surprised. He kind of alluded to the fact and got some questions in regards to the labor market and the reality that the Fed can't create more labor. The Fed can't create jobs. The Fed doesn't have any control over immigration policy, which it does not. And again, I've said this for a while, certain things that they don't have control over, if they're inflationary, why in God's creation, would the Fed even mess around? Do we really need to force a recession, blow the economy up to get inflation down because the Fed can't get control over certain items or certain aspects of the economy? No, it's an exercise in stupidity, if you ask me. So, we talked about this before here on the program. The Fed can't stop avian flu and can't make the egg prices go down. Fed can't fix the supply chains. The Fed can deal with the money supply, which it has. It can make lending more expensive. Okay, it's done that. You've taken a look at what's happened to the housing market. We're taking a look at what's happening to a lot of these tech companies that have been living off of cheap money. That's what they can do. Everything else, throw it to Washington. I wish he'd actually come out and say that. But when it comes to recession, he seemed pretty confident that we're not going to go into one. Again, I hope he's right. Some other economic numbers I wanted to go over today was that, and again, I told you so. Productivity numbers are improving drastically. I was going at it with Stephen Moore last month on Maria Bartiromo's program. We were talking about the labor market, and he was talking about productivity. And I was like, Steve, the reality is once these companies get rid of unproductive workers, the productive ones are going to do more. And guess what? Productivity will go up. We've got labor shortages. We do. We've got businesses that are reacting to those labor shortages. Whether it be, self-checkout lines. There's a myriad of things out there. Technology is coming to the rescue. I know it ticks certain people off. Hey, it eliminates a job when somebody's got a self-checkout line. Okay, I tell you what, you open up your own hardware store or you open up your own grocery store and try to find workers, competent workers, ones that'll actually show up on time. It's not easy. I deal with small business owners all around the country. And the interesting thing is, this is, I know it's anecdotal, my experience. My clients that are in the major metropolitan areas have a more difficult time. Now, these are people that own restaurants and diners and hotels and things like that. They have a more difficult time finding quality workers. They do. People will come, they won't come. I find it fascinating. Anyway, productivity numbers improving. Glad to see that. Let's get into some of the business stories here. I saw this again, kind of reminded me of right now with the Biden administration pushing ESG investing And well, they're pushing ESG investing, and they're also giving a get out of jail free card to advisors who utilize an ESG strategy and do a shit job for their clients. They can't get in trouble for doing a shit job because ESG gets them off the hook. Have you taken a look at some of these ESG companies, ESG friendly companies, some of these electric automakers, the EVs out there? Rivian is going to lay off another 6% of its workforce, another round of cuts. I don't see when this company is going to be profitable. I'm worried about that before. I mean, Lucid. Lucid's got some deep pockets because it's got a lot of Saudi money and money coming from the Middle East involved with that. They could constantly bail that company out. I've seen a couple Lucid cars. They're nice looking cars, no doubt about it. But they're $170,000 plus. $170,000 plus. Rivian trucks are not cheap either. And correct me if I'm wrong, I think in the Rivian release as well, I think that they're going to pull back to some degree on one of their trucks that's going to be pushed back on the R2 line of vehicles, which are more affordable. Now, again, what's Tesla doing right now? Dropping prices. They're dropping prices, and let's make no bones about it, they're the big dog. Ford had dropped prices. It's the reality of the train. It's a reality of the train. There's another story here. I have it here somewhere. I'll tie this into. I wasn't sure if anyone's going to get to this. This is James Freeman. Happens to be a real nice guy. And he's talking about, we mentioned here on the program, the whales that keep washing up off of New Jersey and Long Island. And we had another humpback whale that just washed ashore. And there's some concern right now about offshore wind development and what it's doing and messing around with the whales. We already know onshore it messes around with us. One would assume, you got these whales and how they operate with their songs and on sound and all that, so that it might mess with them a little bit more. Just saying. They haven't anything concrete yet, but it's a bit odd. And don't give me the whole climate change BS. All right, don't give me that. Okay, the waters have been cleaned up to a great degree. I mentioned that you actually had whales coming all the way into New York Harbor. Not to mention the fact we got great whites all over the place. Why I got great whites all over the place? Because there's food here. Sharks aren't stupid. They go to where the food is. Anyway, we got a bunch of New Jersey mayors right now saying, hold it, hold down the fort here. We got to cut it with this wind development stuff. Not to mention, let's look at the numbers. We were talking about ESG investing. Put aside the environmental costs and what the benefits are. This is from the Financial Times, Camilla Hodson. The European wind industry has warned of continued difficulties in 2023 as high material costs and slow approvals for new wind power projects drag back profitability. This is despite rising demand for renewable energy. The latest poor outlook came from Danish wind turbine maker Vestas. It's told investors that it would suffer a weaker year, supply chain issues, planning, depressed profits. Leading European offshore wind manufacturers are under enormous pressure on the cost side and the price side. Yeah. Denmark's Ørsted, the world's number one offshore wind farm developer, announced a write-down on large U.S. offshore wind project and an earnings forecast for 2023 that fell short of analyst expectations. Madrid listed Siemens Gamesa, the world's biggest offshore wind turbine maker, reported a 472 million euro hit to operating profit due to faulty turbine components that require higher warranty and maintenance provisions. Here in the United States, General Electric, their numbers. They exceeded expectations for quarterly earnings on demand for jet engines and power equipment, but lost money. Disappointing full-year outlook as problems persisted at its renewable energy business, a loss of $2.2 billion, and they're reducing their headcount on their onshore wind unit by 20%. And the hits keep on coming. I have more and more of these things. The numbers don't add up. They don't. And again, I see it. Like I said, places I go to when I'm on vacation. Some of the islands in Greece, they got windmills up, and I'm saying to myself that these are windy islands, and the Cycladic Islands there, that chain. And I'm like, how are these wind turbines not spinning? They must be broken because the wind's blowing. How are they not spinning? Or you take that drive from San Francisco and you want to go out to Yosemite, and you go through these windmill fields as far as the eye could see, and most of them are broken. Anyway, one of the funniest. I'm always curious about this. I remember 2008. 2008. I'm going to the Democratic National Convention. It was in Denver, and I was doing my radio show there, broadcasting there, all sorts of good stuff. And land at the Denver airport, and they've got the trains. And if you look outside the trains, as the trains go by, they got all these little propellers there that, as the train goes by, that blows the air and they spin. I'm just curious to see how much electricity those things actually generate. Or is it just, it was just virtue signaling from the beginning? I would bet it's virtue signaling from the beginning. Because if it was really effective, why wouldn't they do it? If it made sense monetarily, why wouldn't they put them at subway stations all around the country, train tunnels, all sorts of good stuff if it actually worked? No, it's just, left-wing porn, basically. Oh my God, look at this. They're so advanced. They're so advanced here. FTC loses again. I mean, they're just perpetually getting their ass kicked. Lena Khan again. Judge declined to halt Meta Platforms' acquisition of the virtual reality startup Within Unlimited, delivering a setback to antitrust enforcers at the FTC. They denied the FTC's request for an injunction blocking the proposed merger. They keep losing. But again, it's like, idiots. They'll bang their head against the wall and continue to bang their heads against the wall. And nothing happens. Same thing happens, and they'll just keep doing it. They can't help themselves. It's who they are. Charlie Munger. What is he? Again, I said, 99, 100 years old at this point in time, somewhere around there. Piece today in the Wall Street Journal, why America should ban crypto. And he actually goes into this and talks about what crypto actually is. Talking about how big blocks of crypto being sold to promoters for nothing. Public buys it at much higher prices. It's laddering without fully understanding how dilution works. He said, all this wild and woolly capitalism is much like that described in a remark often attributed to Mark Twain, who was thought to have said that a mine is a hole in the ground with a liar on top. Such wretched excess is going on because there's a gap in regulation. A cryptocurrency is not a currency, not a commodity, and not a security. Instead, it's a gambling contract with nearly 100% edge for the house. Entered in a country where gambling contracts are traditionally regulated only by states that compete in laxity. Obviously, the U.S. should now enact a new federal law that prevents this from happening. Talks about two precedents. He talks about China. China recently banned cryptocurrencies because it concluded that they would provide more harm than benefit. I agree that they're going to cause more harm than benefit. There's no doubt about it. Like, again, the people coming up with it, the promoters, the snake oil salesmen, they'll do just fine. Everybody else that buys in, not so much. And he also talks about the early 1700s when England reacted to a horrible depression. that followed the blow up of a promotional plan to get vast profits by using slow-moving sailing ships to trade with very poor people halfway around the world. When this thing blew up, it banned all public trading in new common stocks and kept this ban in place for about 100 years. Wow. Well, what should the U.S. do? Charlie says, ban it. And I hear what he's saying. I hear what he's saying. If I, was to talk to Charlie about it, Charlie, it's just going to be another scam. There's just going to be another ripoff. There's just going to be another scam. It's just going to be something else. This is human beings' nature. They want to get rich quick, and there'll be something new and something different. It is what it is. It is what it is. I'd rather just ban it outright than spend the money to regulate it. But what's the point? Another con will come up. Like I said, I've been dealing with this for 30 years now. One scam after another scam, and promises of this, and champagne wishes and caviar dreams. Again, lifestyles of the rich and famous. You can be yours. Quick, easy, no risk. Right. Okay, Wall Street Journal. Again, I give credit where credit is due, and I also rip. Wall Street Journal has got to be one of the greatest war-mongering publications ever. Almost a day doesn't go by on their editorial pages where they don't have another contributing writer or the board itself rah-rahing and pushing for greater involvement in the Ukraine. And today, no exception. What does Ukraine need to win? President Biden is saying the U.S. won't supply F-16 fighter jets to the Ukraine, but anyone following the war in the past year knows what that means. Ask again later. And they're talking about how we put them off. And they're also talking about certain missiles that can fly a greater distance. And they're talking about the fact that Russia's mobilizing 200,000 troops. I saw another story today that they're mobilizing 500,000 troops. Again, how many people out there can fly an F-16? I go on Flight Simulator. I'm sure that there's some software programs out there, but I can imagine it's not an easy thing to do. You Ukrainians are going to be able to just pick it up. I know they got some fighter pilots that can fly MiGs, but again, you have to be trained on certain planes. They're all different. Sooner rather than later, we have to engage. People are going to send me nasty messages with this. Ukraine's not going to win this, in my opinion. They're not going to win this. They're going to have to come up with something. I don't see it. I'm sorry. I don't believe it. I find it hard to believe. I really do. That's just some sort of act of God. How? They're mobilizing 500,000 troops. It's attrition here, people. And how in the world is Ukraine going to keep up? Well, we're going to, bunch of nations, we're going to send them 100 tanks, and that's going to be all the difference in the world out there? Again, disagree with me, want to give a different point, go ahead, send me a message. I don't see it. I haven't seen it since the beginning. Anyway, Spectator, lengthy piece. Jim Cramer versus the world. And I'm just going to touch on this now. I'm going to spend more time on it on the weekend program. And it's pretty much an echo chamber of what I've said here. And, basically the author comes to the conclusion, which we tell people again and again and again, that most of your business programming out there is just entertainment. And it suggests that, Cramer should have a disclaimer on his show that this is for entertainment purposes only. And in our column, they they interview some of the young kids in their 20s that are coming up with trading vehicles to do the exact opposite of what Cramer is telling you to do. And it's working. It's working. And this goes back again to when I started. And Cramer had a radio show the same time I was starting. And right around the same time, I think he started his a little bit later. And they wanted me to do, kind of like what Cramer does. Buy, sell, buy, sell, hold show. Won't do it. To this day. People ask, how come you're not on CNBC? Listen, I tell CNBC, Chris, we need to watch. Come on. I'm like, you can give us your top picks. I'm like, blank you in the back of my mind. I mean, honest. Giving you my top picks. I tell you what, I'll give you my top picks for you. You want to sit down, okay, and I'll put together something for you, financial preparation, and we'll see what's best for you. Because the people I'm going to be talking to, the countless people I'm going to be talking to that watch your program, every single one of them, their situation is unique and different. It's not healthy, people. It really isn't. Anyway, last week on the radio show, which we also put up here on the podcast, I went, talked about my old column, Truth About Taxes. And I saw this story and how Bernie Sanders he's got a book that's coming out. It's an anti-capitalist book. What is something? Why it's okay to be angry about, it's okay to be angry about capitalism. It's a new Bernie Sanders book. And he's having a book signing. And he's charging $95 to go to the book signing. Now, mind you, when Bernie Sanders was running for president, he had all these things about going after millionaires and billionaires. And I don't know if you recall, they took the millionaires off and just made it billionaires because they found out that Bernie Sanders is a millionaire. Anyway, neither here nor there. I thought that this would be a great opportunity for Bernie Sanders to change the way he's selling tickets. He should sell tickets based upon the way he wants to tax the American people. And, basically, the ways figure out, everybody comes, they can, you got to bring your tax return, show them how much you make. And, the top, you got some wealthy libs coming in there, the top 20%, they got to pay for everybody else. It's only fair, right, Bernie? Let's, why don't you charge people to come to your event the same way we do our taxes? See how that works out for you. Yeah, quickly on this story, Frank Scaturo is a politician here on Long Island, Republican politician. He's run for he's run for Congress several occasions, and the Republican Party has stopped him in Nassau County. And this story is talking about the political machine that made George Santos and how things work in Nassau County on Long Island. Now, again, I'm not going to just make this about Nassau County. This is about big political machines everywhere. And this is why I'm telling you, okay, never, ever, 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 ever give to a political party. Ever. Unless, of course, you're looking for something in return. Yeah, I mean, if you're trying to vie, you want to get a certain candidate elected because you want to get a contract to build the overpass or whatever it may be, yeah, I guess you're going to have to. That's how it works. It's how it works. Again, I just popped into my head. Years ago, we at Markowski Investments were considering, based upon our track record and how we do things, we were saying, you know what? Why don't we manage do some institutional money? Why don't we do some pension money? And we reached out, and we were told, well, first of all, you got to hire a lobbyist. A what? Oh yeah. You want to be managing money for the state? You bet you got to hire a lobbyist that has to go and pay them ungodly sums of money, who's got to line the pockets of politicians so your name might come up. And I was like, thank you very much. Have a nice day. Click. I was like, I'm like, I don't even want to get involved in this. I don't even care. I don't even care if it's going to be, good for us. And I don't want to deal with it. I can't deal. I say I have little tolerance for sleaze. Okay. I can't do this. I don't want to be around these types of people. I don't like it. I mean, if there's other people, they love that shit. They love being in the dirt and the mud. I can't stand it. So I go to Washington, D.C., and I feel like I got to take 4 or 5 showers a day. Anyway, political machines. Yeah, they're everywhere. And in this case, they're talking about Nassau County and Long Island. Again, the state of New York is about as corrupt could be. For the longest time, you had, what's his name there? Frank Bruno and Sheldon Silver, Democrat, Republican, basically running the state and lining their pockets. I just came to mind as well. It's everywhere. It's everywhere. I remember when Marco Rubio decided he wanted to run for Senate in the state of Florida. A Republican Party wanted no part of him at all. At all. He wasn't part of the machine. He was an outsider. They didn't want anybody messing with who? Charlie Crist. That's right. Charlie Crist was running for Senate. And again, Charlie Crist has gone from being a Republican to an independent because he lost the nomination, the Republican nomination to Rubio, decided to run as an independent, lost there, then decided to be a shill for some of the ambulance chasers in the state of Florida, then came back and was a Democrat. Then he was in the House, and then he decided to run against Ron DeSantis for governor of the state of Florida and got his ass handed to him. Now, again, Charlie was part of the machine. It's how they operate. It's gross. It's disgusting. And again, this is why you do not donate to political parties. They're godforsaken awful. They are. Here we go. Yeah, try to show this. Find it the massive peer-reviewed study of masks. Yep. Shows a little to no difference in preventing COVID flu infection. Again, you're going to show this to people that are still wearing masks and the COVIDians, the true believers out there. Ooh, boy, you're going to have a real difficult time. A massive international research collaboration that analyzed several dozen rigorous studies focusing on physical interventions against COVID-19 and influenza found that they provide little to no protection against infection or illness rates. The study, published in the peer-reviewed Cochrane database of systematic reviews, is the strongest science to date refuting the basis for mask mandates worldwide. You know, I knew this was a joke from the get-go. I did. Again, I've got a greater faith in, my wife and my, the Greek side of our family here, the little evil eyes that they put up everywhere in protecting you. Yeah, you do some of that evil eye stuff. Now, Italians got it too with the pepper, but the Greeks, there's a whole rule system that's made up. I'm still trying to figure out. For some reason, I don't know. My wife was trying to explain it to me that if people can be nice to you, it's not even evil, and somehow that can bring evil in. This is a true story. I'm Washington Heights, part of Manhattan. My son, Stephen, his christening. He's 20 now. And again, you go, it's a very small, beautiful Greek church. My wife grew up doing this christening there and carrying Stephen, and they get them their christening outfits, white hat, all this stuff up there. And, all these people that are, and all the Greeks, little old ladies, most wearing black, going as we're walking by. And I'm like, I said, why are they spitting on us? Why are they spitting at us? I guess that helps prevent any of the evil to get in, because I don't know. I'm going to have to probably call her onto the program to explain it all. I got a lot of rules. Got a lot of rules and regulations. But yeah. The evil eye in my car, protect. It is what it is. It's kind of a cool thing anyway. Last but not least, one of the biggest dicks on the planet, Al Sharpton. I mean, could there be a bigger freaking a-hole? Why in the world, Al? He's got to get himself involved with this Tyre Nichols funeral. And of course, it was racism again, I guess. I mean, everywhere, no matter what, you had this god awful story, horrible story, where this man gets pummeled, beaten to death senselessly by these cops. And the cops happen to be the same color he is. Now, again, I'm thinking to myself, if this had been different, a lot of the country would be burning right now. Any argument with me there? And again, I think that Al Sharpton, those guys deep down inside, are kind of upset about that. But anyway, neither here. I'm just saying. I don't like to speculate. I'm going to speculate on this one because Al Sharpton's a bit of a dick. He still believes a Tawana Brawley thing, for crying out loud. Anyway, he said that this is race 2. If Tyre Nichols had been white, the police wouldn't have beat him. Yep, bring that country together there, Al. You're doing a great job. Watchdog on wallstreet.com. We'll see you.